Welcome back to another episode in our Design League playthroughs, and this one's from dewone2golf, I think. Having said last time it was so refreshing to have an autumnal delta course, we've got just a plain autumn, which is also really nice. I like that you brought water in. Right, you can see we are clearly within our 800 by 350 area. And we got a very sandy area over there as well, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, like this sort of style, I think you get a lot of really cool autogen trees. The colours are great, and what I like that you've done is you've pruned out a lot of the really bright reds that you see in the background. Obviously you can't do those ones, get rid of those ones there, but muting autumn colours looks really good. Okay, our first tee shot. So we've got a little bit of a fall off here towards the bunkers, which I guess is partly done by bunker sculpting. I like the birds flying up, like nice touch. As with a lot of these playthroughs, I think a little bit more width for a layup zone would be helpful. You've got a lot of area here that you really could make fairway if you wanted to, or down here and give people a bad angle, up to you. And the longest driver I think is probably, it might not carry these bunkers, but it'll get pretty close too. But it's one of those where I may as well just hit driver because the fairway's thin enough everywhere else, and even with a not great shot, I'd rather have a 9-iron out of heavy rough than from a decent angle than anywhere else. I do like the lake backdrop, that works really nicely. I think you could do with some planting underneath the trees. It would just, it helps fill out the space a little bit more. Green site's really nice. Natural banked into the hillside works well. The green's quite small, I think. I'd probably want that to be a bit bigger, but I mean it works for what you've got on there. See, like there's an approach. And with this sort of green, you're kind of limited to the slopes that you put on it. Let's say pin here, pin here, pin here. Your fourth pin's going to be very similar. I'm guessing probably around here. So that's where I think we could probably be looking at a little bit more green surface to work with. But good, solid first hole. A few tweaks I'd make, but otherwise all good. Okay, this green is definitely too small, and we're starting to see a trend now. You put more slopes on here, but again, the two pins that you've doubtless got down here are going to play pretty samey. Same with the ones up here, and at the moment the aiming reticle is about the size of half the green. We're going a little bit too small. So I've said this on different videos, but a good rule of thumb is going like 30 by 25. So this one we're looking at 20 yards. And maybe we're about at 30, but it's also super narrow. 30 by 25 is generally good, or as you're splining it, getting to about 95 or 100 yards. My guess would this be about 65, which is like super small, maybe 70. So yeah, like when you go back and look at this spline around it and see what it looks like. I mean, from the tee though, it looks really good. I would just like a bit more space on the green. Planting here, I think you can combine some of these bushes a bit better. They look a little bit ordered and yet random in terms of the different types of bushes. It takes a little while to get the balance with that, but otherwise this looks great. Like a really good looking tee shot. And even the use of the backdrop and seeing the bird up in the air, like this looks good. Again, I'd like probably a bit more water planting down here or underbrush there. Would really help fill out some of this empty space because you want our eye led that way as much as possible. That's not a good shot at all. Bunker sculpting is generally pretty solid. Like, normally that's a common critique on these, but been good here. Yeah, this one less good. It was always going to happen. I think the moment you're trying to bunker on a slope that's going downhill like this side has to be low. You can't be propping up this bit, otherwise it's going to look really unnatural. Basically, with your bunkers, try to follow where the land already is. You're usually, if you're banking them into a hillside, you've won half the battle. So here you have, but your hill is going from up here to down here, and you've tried to make this high and this low. So that's where your issues come from. Same here. I mean, you've tried to make this side the high side, whereas actually the slope's going this way. Like, have high here, low here, and it will generally work. This one definitely looks a little bit open, and probably a little too open. I'd try to close. I like the views down to this hole here. I'd try to close one of the sides off a little bit more. And as we said with the first tee shot, actually your driver landing zone is you're pinching 5 wood with that bunker. I get that that's just a framing bunker, but driver I've actually got the most space to land it in. Still going to miss a fairway because I've hit an awful part of the fairway. And I don't mind running off that fairway. I think that's completely fair because it was just a bad line and not anywhere near where I wanted to hit it. And I like that the green complex encourages you to hit to the outside of the dogleg. Like, I'd have a better shot in coming from this side and challenging that bunker. That makes sense. And now we've got to hit some sort of ridiculous shot, which hasn't happened, but could be a worse miss. Alright, we're on a down slope, so that should push it on a little bit more. Like the tree line a lot in the background, I think that looks great. Yeah, not much more to add on this one. And now sit. Pretty good recovery. I will say quite a few of your pins have been slightly crowned, so that one broke both this way and that way. And like just at the top of a hill or a little mound isn't really a great way to place pins. It will make them more difficult, but it's doing that by just making every putt uphill and doesn't really allow for a great leave. Yeah, similar kind of comments on tee shot to the other holes. Finally a fast we can manage. Like, I don't think there's that. There's not that much strategy required, which it doesn't necessarily need to be the case, but you want people not being automatic off the tee. Similar comments in terms of green size with this one. I thought the last one was better actually. Still slightly on the small side, but definitely better. This one is certainly small. And it's not a gimme, for sure. Thought I might have had that one. But again, like the green site, just mounded up slightly. I like the way you came back to the second green. I think that works really nicely. So now we have a par 5. I think a par 5 is a great chance for you to ramp up the pressure on the drive. We've got a little bit of a hog's back here. But I think a key thing for you, I would suggest, is trying to incorporate where you're placing bunkers in your hole design a little bit more. They're tending to be, I'm finding you've laid down your fairway and then you've put the bunkers down as well, like later. Whereas if you put the bunkers down almost first and then wind the fairway around them, you'll have a much better, like a more interesting golf hole. I do like that you've brought the lake right the way in. That works well. Transitions, like how your fairway joins your green, could be neater. I think you want to smooth them out a little bit. Andre, I know, has a tutorial on that. Oh, it's a risky approach. Don't know if I really want to go for it. Just not a slow. Anything but a slow was fine. I figured I might run pretty close and then leave a chip. But that was fun. Like, that gave a decent layup option, I felt. Obviously you can't go straight at that pin, but you could try to go at the green and feed off one of those slopes. So I like the way this one was designed on the approach shot. Okay, and to finish up with this par 4, I think I saw this one earlier, and we suddenly have this expanse of really sandy, burnt out texture, and I mean, it might work well it would work well in patches, but it's really stark. And if you look at the rest of your course, which is very, very green, it's just a it's just a real departure from what we've had. And don't get me wrong, a little bit of variety is a good thing, but it's just got to feel like when you reach it, it's not just like, and here you are, here's something completely different. I think this one is a little bit of that. I don't think you needed it, honestly. I liked, particularly on a 6-hole course. On like an 18-hole course, I understand why you might need a bit more variety, but on a 6-hole loop, just stick with your one idea, I think. Drivable, and it's a little bit contrived, but I like how you provided this bit of fairway. Spline work could be neater. I think use a few more spline points, and that'll kind of smooth out these kinks in the edges. I mean, why not? Might as well. That could be alright. Yeah, needed just to carry a couple more yards, I think. Bunkers, same kind of comment as before. The hill feels a bit artificial here, particularly with the land dropping down behind it. I think this one works a bit better. Here I'd actually bumped up the back a bit more. And when you're bumping up that back, think about how you can tie it into the rest of the landscape. So actually, to make this bunker fit, I'd be raising that up a bit and actually raising up the hill all the way into this hill here and having it feed down so that bunker looks really integrated. With this one, I don't know that I'd have a bunker here at all. I'd probably drop this land and open up the view to that lake. I think that would just look like it fits more to me. Hoping the slope will just slow that down a touch. Not enough. So there we go. There's lots to like there. I think how you're setting up your approach shots works really well. I think take that and work it into your tee shots as well. I think tee shots were a little bit too, not basic would be the wrong word, but they're just, here's a straight bit of fairway. Whereas as much as possible, if you can break up that straight line between tee and green, and make people work around hazards or dogleg or whatever, it just gets infinitely more interesting, and you offer players a bit more of a challenge. Otherwise, green's a little bit too small. Tree lines look great. Overall plot was really nice. There's lots to like here. So, hope that helps, and best of luck.